Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining Sandra P's Gen Extra. If you were with me this morning when I did, well, I had a pre recorded Married to Medicine, but that was me live in the chat. Thank you for joining the live chat. Y'all, I'm catching up. So, what I'm doing now is I have finished Real Housewives of Potomac, season 10, episode 14, High and Dry. This is the continuation of Angel's Trip. So, I'm going to actually do this one and then I still need to watch The Married to Medicine that aired last night, episode 6, I believe it was. So when I'm finished with that, no, it was that, yeah, episode 6. When I'm finished with that one, All in the Family. So that we'll go there when I finish that. But for right now, this is Real Housewives of Potomac, season 10, episode 14, High and Dry. It was a pretty good one, a little bit more of what we've been seeing from the ladies when they're on a trip, namely Gizelle being miserable. And Gizelle, why? Why are you doing this to this girl on her trip? I mean, we understand, but I'm a little embarrassed for Gizelle. As a fellow Gen Xer, Gizelle and I are exactly the same age, and I just find Gizelle, she can be funny, she can be charismatic, she can be witty. She could actually change the whole energy of the trip, but she came there committed to be negative. And she says at one point, I don't want to poo poo on Angel's trip, and then proceeds to do exactly that. So let me make sure I'm right. If you're joining me in the live, thank you so much. Click the live button. Welcome in to Sandra P's Gen Extra. If you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. I appreciate it, and I thank you so much. Again, this is episode 14. So we are almost at the end. And we are continuing the conversation about the alleged eviction, which we all know was not an eviction. It's looking like Wendy lied, y'all. Wendy lied. I'm going to have to find a cute picture of Wendy. I have a beautiful picture of Wendy and Cam. Y'all know I stopped showing her mugshot because I just didn't like the way that whole thing is going. I still hope somehow they get out of it. But Dr. Wendy, Dr. Wendy, Dr. Wendy, I'm a little disappointed in her and how she conducted herself. So, Dr. Wendy, I'm going to show something positive while I'm saying what this scene is because it is what it is. Okay, we ended last week where Angel is saying, what's not going to happen? You're not going to come to my property with negative energy. She's in her cowboy hat, her denim suit. She's looking adorable. Gizelle's in her hat. She's looking cute. Ashley, everybody looked cute. Wendy looked a little bit out of place as far as how she was dressed, but she looked beautiful as well. They'd had a long day of travel. They had gotten there. They found out that Angel, Tia, and Kay are staying at Angel's beautiful award-winning property, and the ladies are staying at an Airbnb. They're acting like it's a shack or that she's sending them under the bridge with Sheila, but she's not. Angel lets us know it's a $1.6 million house. But because it's Gizelle, who is miserable and bitter, and Ashley, who is her minion, part of the new Green Eyed Bandits, even though Ashley has brown eyes, not green, they're going to find a reason to complain. So, continuing the scene, Wendy has lied on the realtor, y'all. I hate to say it, but that's what it's looking like. Tia is saying, this must be a terrible realtor. She must be a terrible realtor. Now, Tia, you have forgotten your role in this. When we first found out that Angel was moving back to Colorado, she and Bobby and family moving back to Colorado because that Airbnb was up. It had been rented out. She got the thank you for staying with us. Hope to see you in the future email. And she wanted to extend it. It was not available. So Tia calls and says, are you going to support Angel in this because she has to move? And Gizelle says, oh, she got evicted? Tia did not say any of that. Gizelle made that up. Wendy jumping on the Gizelle bandwagon. Dr. Wendy has forgotten that when she was assaulted by Mia, Gizelle stood with Mia, Ashley stood with Mia. They laughed at Dr. Wendy, said they didn't care because they didn't like her. But Wendy's so happy to be part of the Mean Girls, she's doing whatever. So when they had this little luncheon last week, Ashley, Gizelle, and Wendy was saying, I talked to a realtor and she told me that she had a client that wanted to have a property that looked like it was $50,000, but cost between $1,000 to $2,000. All of us know that that is, if not impossible, then very, very, very unlikely. So, Dr. Wendy, it appears you lied on the realtor. So Angel is saying, if you know anything more, because Giselle's saying, actually, we know more about that situation. I didn't know she was relying on Wendy's false information, y'all. I thought she was coming up with something. No, this is what she was talking about. So Wendy's realizing this is not going the way she wants it to. And when Tia was saying, she must be a terrible realtor, when he's like, no, she's not. No, she's not. Angel was saying, I know who you're talking about. She didn't say that. And I have proof that I did pay $14,000 for the rental. So at the very least, there's information getting out that should not get out. And you're a realtor, that is a fiduciary position as well. No more than if you were at a bank and you were a manager of someone's account and you go, so and so deposited a check for X amount of $1,000. You're not supposed to do that. So, Dr. Wendy, I'm showing you a beautiful picture of yourself and the beautiful Cam, who is one of my favorite children's on Potomac. But I have to say, you lied, Dr. Wendy. You lied. Okay, I didn't like that at all. So someone was asking Angel, do you know her? Angel was saying, yes, I know her. I'm going to prove something. So then we find out Angel does have receipts that she did pay $14,000. This whole $50,000 for 1 to 2,000 is a whole made up in Wendy's head lie, encouraged by Gizelle and Ashley, I believe, or from Dr. Wendy wanting to impress these two. And what we're seeing about Wendy and her history, she does want to impress people. She has said as much, that if she has this and she has that and 4 degrees, that maybe her parents will love her. So that's what's going on with Wendy. I have compassion, but Dr. Wendy, you don't get to just lie on people. Especially in the past when we saw Gizelle, we saw Ashley, Sesame Street, Oscar the Grouch, and then Mia lie on Eddie, lie on Happy Eddie. And production thankfully had videos of the exact opposite of what they would say being untrue. Oh, he was looking at me, he's smiling, and they show him totally disinterested. Same thing they did to Chris Bassett. So for Wendy to turn around and do this years later, I'm really disappointed. I'm a little surprised, but I'm not shocked. I'll say that. So then she got panicked when Stacey said, well, let's call. Wendy's like, oh, you didn't want to call for TJ, but now you're going to call now? Stacey's like, yeah. We get a confessional from Stacey saying, when you have personal relationships, you may or may not call before a business relationship. If you want to call, you can call. So I see what Stacey's saying. It's a little back and forth. One thing that kind of made me laugh during this episode, Stacey's being a little bit shady toward Angel because Angel, throughout the course of the season, now you know Angel is wearing Sandra P's cloak of immunity. I hope I can find that and put that up. I have a first season cloak of immunity that I put on the ladies. Angel is wearing one. But what I have found is that Angel, earlier on, she was kind of teasing, poking at Stacey a little bit. I didn't love that. So Stacey's giving it back to her. Stacey's giving it back to her. There's a cloak of immunity. And it's kind of making me laugh during this episode. So Stacey was saying, well, yeah, call. Wendy didn't want to call y'all because that realtor probably would have said, no, I didn't discuss anything about my client's personal information. So that I didn't like that at all. So she had quite a few shady confessionals. A lot of the ladies did, but Angel, now next time when you're talking about mints and this kind of thing, just be mindful of whom you're putting in with. Because I think earlier on she said, oh yeah, her breath was a little tart to Gizelle or somebody about Stacey. And that may or may not have been true. So they go to the house, marvel over Angel's and Bobby's award-winning, lovely Denver, Colorado home. It is gorgeous. It is really pretty. It's 6 bedroom. Monique ended up asking, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? Monique, I know Monique likes real estate because she did a lot of investing and things like that, but she was really into it. They're doing another mindfulness class. As Angel's showing them around, she said, we're going to have a mezcal tasting because I know Gizelle likes mezcal. Stacey got another shady confessional. Angel's paying more attention to Gizelle than she is to her own husband. Bobby hasn't really been there. He's there, but he's on the outskirts because we know that Ashley and Gizelle proclaim to be so scared of Bobby. So Bobby is doing what a husband should do. He's not flying up in anyone's faces. I did like when Monique came in, she introduced herself. Oh, she said, hi, Bobby. I talked to you on the phone years ago because we know Chris Samuels was Bobby's mentor. Bobby is from the DMV area. Chris Samuels is a very high profile. He was a coach. He was an not a coach, but he would mentor younger NFL players. Captain, I believe he was team captain for years. So that's how a lot of people know of Chris Samuels. And Monique was saying that she remembered Bobby talked to him on the phone. He's like, oh, hello. And he hugged her. Here's Gizelle with the girls like, hi, Bobby. We didn't see Bobby hug her. Bobby, I hope you didn't hug her because she'll pull you in a room, claim you made her go in there, and she was oh so scared. So Bobby's keeping the appropriate distance from Gizelle. Another thing I noticed is that everything Gizelle was saying, Monique was falling out laughing. Now, I'll give this to Monique. She started out kind of equal opportunity. When we saw that twin bedroom and Giselle's face hit the floor, and then Ashley had to look to Gizelle, her leader, as Nene would say, to see what their mood should be, Monique recognized it. Oh, shade, shade. And she fell down laughing. And Angel kind of, it's not shade. And then she admitted it's a little bit of shade. And then they laughed. Shade for what? Gizelle acted like she had done nothing. So now Gizelle has decided she's really upset. She's offended. She's never stayed in the twin bedroom. Production has showed us a couple of times Robin and Gizelle, the Green Eye Bandits, getting a single room together with twin beds and being in the same bed at some time. So we'll see what happens here. Now, Gizelle is telling the ladies, you did not have any problems with the host when we were in Nevis. Now, that's not quite true. The whole catfish thing happened in Nevis. Angel being brought to tears, calling Bobby, crying, Kierna running out after her, and Gizelle apologizing repeatedly, 4 or 5 times. Even though she started shading again, something did happen in Nevis, so that's not true. Also, Stacy, everything Stacy was given did not have her name on it. It was blank, and Gizelle was trying to make Stacy feel like nothing. So maybe a little bit of that is going on here. Giselle's threatening to go to a hotel, to take the ladies to a hotel. So bye. I don't know if Angel will care. Kay's also doing a lot of laughing, so I'm watching you too, Kay. This is too much. So, and another thing I noticed, I thought it was kind of funny, when Monique said, well, how many bedrooms do you have? She said, there's 6 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. And then Angel started like making all these excuses. Bobby has his man cave. The kids got 2 of the rooms. Tia's in one. Kierna's in one. This other room's for this and the other room's for that. And this, okay, just tell the ladies that some of them are not welcome to stay there because that's what it is. But the other main thing is that it appears the property is about an hour or so away from Angel's home. Now, I've since watched Angel on Angela Yee's show. Angela Yee has a podcast over here on YouTube. It's really good. She sat down with Angel about 45 minutes. They discussed her experience on this season, her first season. They discussed the Denver trip. We got a lot of insight. Evidently, it started out as a couples trip. Most of the ladies are uncoupled. Hey, Gizelle. So that didn't really, or at least someone that she's willing to share with us. I'll say that. So that didn't really pan out. And then Angel says that a lot of things, when people say, oh, she's too sensitive, or why did she do this? Why did she say that in the moment? I'm one of those people. Angel is saying that she got into it with Wendy and gave it to Wendy a lot more. She said, I'll say this about Dr. Wendy. Dr. Wendy, the things she was doing was in my face. A lot of the stuff Gizelle and Ashley was doing, other than the catfish with Gizelle, that was carried out behind her back, which I can see her point on that. So then we have Gizelle lying. You won't be so defensive about eviction if you weren't evicted. That's not true. Some people do get mad about certain words used if they're being lied on. I still don't believe Angel was evicted. So on the ride back to Angel's house, Angel, Kay, and Tia are speaking about how the ladies have treated her, their general demeanor and reaction and mood about the trip, which I think the ladies are letting Gizelle guide them as to whether or not they're going to have a good time or if they're just going to be sad sacks the whole time. So Angel saying, I'm an eternal optimist. I don't know, Angel. People thought you were a sad sack earlier in the season, but she's saying now she's an eternal optimist. I do see that she had a very positive energy when she met them in Denver. So that is her happy space. Angel says they're staying at a $1.6 million home and they're still complaining. So that's true. Tia seems to have forgotten altogether that she is the one that called Gizelle initially and started this whole leaving early, lease ending. Eviction was Giselle's word, but that all came from Tia. Tia's asking about the backyard. Will there be anything running through her backyard? She's speaking about mountain lions and things like that. And Kay's like, oh, Angel, is there? Angel said, well, don't worry, because by the time you see a mountain lion, it's too late. I don't know how reassuring that is, but that is what she said. By the time you see a mountain lion, it is too late. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get myself together. Okay, I'm in the same place, but I had moved my computer at some point. So the ladies are still complaining. They thought they were staying at this lady's house. I don't know why they thought that. Especially Gizelle and Ashley. So they all weigh in. Wendy saying, if Angel's going to treat us like this, why invite us? Wendy, you know you're going to show up to these cash trips because just like anyone else, this is your job. And with what we're hearing, you do need the money. Nothing wrong with that. This is your job. I go to work and they pay me. I work, they pay me. I work, they pay me. I don't say, oh, why they ask me to come in? Because that's my job and I want to get paid. But that's what Wendy's saying. Why did she invite us? And Wendy lives somewhere 3 to 4 hours away. They said she's on the border of Pennsylvania. So that actually Denver would be a shorter flight. So I don't know what she's talking about. Next, Tia and Kay at Angel and Bobby's award-winning home. Production is showing us all of the scene as she's taking them through, showing them different places in the house. And I wish the ladies would stop focusing on the negative. They're back. I like how they flip between the two houses. So we see Angel's house, we see the rental that she got for the ladies. Gizelle's threatening to go to a hotel. Angel's down for whatever Gizelle's down for. Stacey's saying, who's going to eat all this fruit and drink all this liquor? So that was kind of funny. She said, if you all leave. Gizelle's claiming she brings them up for lunch. The spread was gorgeous. Salmon, as I said, the mezcal. She had a chef that was there fixing the lunch for them. Gizelle's claiming, well, I just want to say that the home does not have running water. And then she amends it because that's easily checked. She says, well, it's intermittent. And Ashley says, yeah, it shuts off and on. Ashley, that's what intermittent means, love. Off and on, intermittent. So that is actually the Airbnb. So they should call the owner, but they are complaining to Angel. And she's in charge. She rented it, so I could see that. During the drive to Angel, another thing that was happening I didn't care for, Monique was continually alluding to the fact that Angel and Bobby, it seems to me like I recognize her in myself because if you're doing everything, Angel said nothing about this, but this is what Monique is seeing in Angel. She was doing everything and making it look like she and Chris had things perfect, but it was actually a facade. None of that was true. So she's attributing that to what Angel and Bobby are doing. I don't see these two faking the funk. This is Angel's first season. If she comes back, I don't know. We'll see. I hope she comes back. I've heard people say she's too sensitive. She doesn't deserve to come back. I haven't seen anything in her where she wouldn't get her flute for another season. It just took her a little longer to find her feet. I'm okay with that. But she laid a really beautiful spread for lunch. They got there. They get to view the property. Y'all, Gizelle was hating, 100% hating on this lady's face throughout. Stacey's making a couple of slick comments, but I'm going to allow Stacey that because Angel did poke Stacey a little bit earlier in the season. And then they have the lunch. They're laid out for the lunch. Angel is sitting at lunch. Well, she wasn't sitting yet. She was standing, introducing everybody. And Monique was saying, I like this energy. I see what Monique is doing. Monique is actually trying to make something negative because they were having a good lunch. Everything was good. Everybody was eating. I like this, Angel. I like it. And Jazzy says, oh, Jazzy was doing a lot too. Oh, are you saying that you don't like the other energy? And Gizelle ends up piping up. Oh, no, she's saying, you didn't have a host energy earlier. You didn't have a host energy earlier. Surprisingly, Angel let that slide. She didn't take the bait. She says, well, we're here now and we're enjoying ourselves now. And then someone brought up, well, how's it going with Stacey and Tia? It might have been Gizelle. I was surprised to see you two ladies sitting next to each other, I believe at the airport and having a good time. And Tia was saying that she returns the energy that she's given. Her and Stacey start to argue a little bit more. I don't know how this happened, but it just goes to show that if one person has a negative attitude, if they're a leader type spirit, other people will follow it. And that's kind of what Gizelle was doing. Gizelle kind of wanted some stuff to pop off, and eventually it did, between Stacey and Tia, who supposedly their issue had kind of been squashed, But then they start again on Stacey being a liar for whatever reason. Monique gets in on it, start talking about Chris Samuels. Again, Monique, you don't care. You didn't want that man. Y'all are divorced. Monique is telling us, how did it go from within 10 minutes, someone called him and changed the whole story? Stacey at one point said, I wasn't the only one at the table. I did not call him. I believe Stacey on that. I think it had to be. We know Gizelle is now close friends with Cookie. It had to either be Gizelle or Ashley. That's what I'm guessing. Told Cookie or either Sharice. I know Gizelle and Sharice aren't good now, but at the time, they were still okay. They would go to events together. Somewhere along there, one of them called Chris, either Sharice or Cookie, and I believe they either got the information from Gizelle or Ashley. So that's what's going on there. Angel's just looking around because there's a full-on argument going on her table. I hated to see that. Monique again was talking about Chris and Stacey. Ashley put in a few times because you're being caught kind of in a bunch of lies. Ashley, no one has lied more than you. No one has lied more than Ashley. And when she was married to Michael Darby, they were doing a lot of lying. There were a lot of things behind the scenes going on. Michael Darby was even sued. Monique was instrumental in that. Welcome in, Mama Bees. Thank you so much for coming in during the live. This is my moderator. I appreciate it. This is the live review for Real Housewives of Potomac, the episode that aired last night. So we are at the lunch with Stacey that Angel is hosting. Stacey and Tia are kind of getting into it because Gizelle has stirred the pot a little. Monique is jumping in. So Angel says, I want to tell you all about the trip that's going on tomorrow. So she tells them further what's going to happen the next day of their Denver, Colorado trip. They're chartering a private jet. They are flying to Aspen. They're going somewhere called Kimosabe, where a lot of the celebrities and high-profile people go. I forgot to mention, Angel was introducing, Bobby has a bunch of friends there. There was some high net worth, high profile men that were there that are friends of Bobby's. Now production, I don't know what production was showing us because we see them being greeting, the ladies greeting them, Angel introducing them, and they're just very calm, kind of stern demeanor and looking. One of them was even smoking a cigar. And we don't see them speak back or anything like that. We get a confessional from Wendy where she's like, I thought all the ladies are supposed to be together. Why are we meeting this man? And they don't want to meet us. They're not even talking to us. But now we know how production shoots confessionals and things like that. I don't know if Dr. Wendy is just trying to make a scene or make something out of nothing. I don't see why those men would be rude to the ladies. I didn't see that. It didn't seem to fit. It was kind of thrown in. But those were Bobby's friends that Angel introduced them to. So she's telling us that they're going to fly to Aspen the next day on a private jet. Kimosabe. Angel tells them, now Aspen is even higher elevation than Denver. And they were like, oh, it's going to be worse than this. She says, yeah, so make sure you hydrate. So the ladies know that they have to do that. And then Kay is saying that she wants a PJ party. So they want a pajama party. I think they set this up, y'all. This is going to come up again later. And it's going to give Monique the opportunity to kind of put Angel on the spot. You want to spend the night with us? Monique, you don't even really like Angel like that. So I don't know why Monique was doing all of this. So I think it was kind of like a setup. She said, I had to check in with Bobby. And they were like, oh, that's straight. And Monique says, well, that's just daddy doing daddy things. Now, Monique, you couldn't leave Chris Samuels with those little kids without him complaining the roof off. And we know that. So I didn't like Monique doing all this piping up, trying to make Angel look like she's some type Stepford wife who can't say no to Bobby. I see them more of a partnership. I see Monique and Chris had problems to that degree. And so now she's trying to put it on Angel. And I just don't see that. So, and if I was Angel, I would have told him, no, I'm not leaving my big, fine husband and my cute little kids and go over there with y'all with no water. And I think they were lying about the water, y'all. I really do. So they get back to the ladies' house. Production is aiding and abetting these women. They're showing us the darkest of darkest roads. And it looks like there is not a pitch of light out there. They're in the pitch dark. They're like, oh my goodness, is anybody out here? At one point, Stacey says, oh, do we even have security? Production is riding with y'all. There's a camera in the vehicles and we see it. So you ladies are in no danger. Y'all, this was crazy. Gizelle was still lying about no hosting issues in Nevis. When we saw her make Angel cry and also saw her leave Stacey's name off of everything she had given her. And in contrast, when Angel brought them to her house and also when she showed them where they were staying at, all of their gifts had their own initials on it. It was personalized. So Angel really went over the top. The ladies are in the car still complaining, acting scared. We get up with them the next day. Monique's up early. She's eating breakfast. She looks freshly washed and beautiful, but she is claiming that the room was so hot, her face was swollen, and all this other stuff. So I think this is something that they came up with. Ashley is claiming that there's no water. Stacy's the only one with water. I need to wash my A. Ashley, you are so vulgar. That's a sentence I thought I'd never heard from Ashley Darby, that you need to wash your A. I think one of the ladies should have asked her, where did you wash your A when y'all were under that bridge? That's what I would have asked her. Because Ashley goes a little bit too far. And then we get Gizelle coming in. Now, she looked beautiful. They all dressed for Denver, so they got the little different versions of the cowboy hats and stuff. She comes in. The shower wasn't working, but the tub was. And so this lady actually squats. This 55-year-old Gen Xer, and we're the same age, so I can say that. I'm not age shaming. Squats to show the ladies how she had to wash out of the tub as opposed to the shower. Gizelle, sometimes you do too much. I like it when she's funny and she's just being quirky and silly, but this was just kind of nasty. She's trying to imply that Angel put them somewhere like that on purpose, and it's just not. We see a car ride with Angel, Tia, and Kiana, and Angel saying that she called to check on Jazzy. That was another thing. Ashley says, have you heard from Angel or anybody? Monique's like, nope, nobody checked on us. Nobody cared about us. But we find out later that Angel did call Kay, and she called Jazzy. She's staying with Kay. She called Jazzy to see how things were going, and Jazzy was telling her about the water, and Angel immediately called the owner. And I think Ashley said Chef came in, and a couple of hours later they had water, but the owner supposedly had to reset something. Now, this being Denver, Angel said it's high season. I don't know how frequently the house was rented. I don't know what part of the season, but anyone who's rented an Airbnb knows if you are in some of these vacation destinations, there are different things that they go through. If you're in a winter city, they have winterization. If no one's going to be in the house, they do have to reset the water and all of that. So that's what was going on. So Gizelle says, I'm taking over Angel's trip. I'm not trying to do that, but I'm taking over the trip, and I'm going to find us better accommodation. Now, I thought she was going to do that when they first got there. That's what she said. So bye. That's what I would tell her. So Angel is in the car with Kiana and Tia, and she said, Jazzy was also telling me some of the things Monique was saying about me. Jazzy, you being messy. We get a confessional from Jazzy, and Jazzy says, when I heard Monique talking about Chris and her relationship versus Bobby and Angel, and that there were some similarities, she said that would never happen with me. I didn't want to hear that. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on over there. Jazzy, I think you are being messy. So I didn't like that. Angel Clock, she says, some of these women are disappointed to see people in healthy, happy relationships, and they do try to get in the middle of that. I have found that to be true with Gizelle and Ashley. And that's gone on for some seasons now, the way that they attack the husbands. Angel says that is evil. Production clicks back to the other ladies, y'all. Monique is still talking about Bobby and Angel. It's talking about Chris and herself. Now, if I haven't done a Sandra P's Gen Extra on it yet, but in Monique's divorce papers, Monique is now saying that Chris actually laid hands on her at one point in time. There were witnesses. She said she chucked a water bottle at him. I don't know if it hit him or not, but he went after her and he ended up taking her by the throat and like kind of, I guess they were at a balcony or something. She said she was scared to move. These are all her words that are in the divorce papers. So they said he let her go when other people were actually screaming. So y'all, that's really terrible. Excuse me. Angel is still saying if they continue to come for Bobby, she's going to crash out. And I believe that. Angel seems to be really sensitive and protective of Bobby. I agree with it. I saw when Wendy and Gizelle were talking. Well, is she going to spend the night with us? And she says, I'm going to check with Bobby. And then she did her hand. And it was funny. Kiana did a confessional. Elisa Triplet, welcome in. Thank you so much for coming in during the live. We are still on Angel's Denver trip. The ladies are kind of teasing her, trying to get her to spend the night with them, which I wouldn't have. But Angel is saying that if they continue to come for Bobby, she is going to crash out. And Gizelle is one to do that. She has come for each and every one of the different husbands. She had done that even with Karen Huger when she used to speak about Ray and his tax problems. She came for Chris Bassett. We caught her in a lie on Chris Bassett. Did the same thing with Chris Samuels, that Monique and Chris's baby, a baby born during the marriage, was the trainer's and not Chris's. So that was terrible. She has repeatedly done this. So for Monique to kind of stand with Gizelle why she does this and kind of give her cover to do it, because Monique is the one telling the ladies, I recognize myself in her. I recognize myself in what she's going through. So y'all, this is a little bit terrible. So that was the end of that. We have Gizelle threatening to move out, move into a hotel. Ashley saying she's up for whatever Gizelle is up for. And then Angel gave them the rundown of what they're going to be doing the next day. Ashley did check correctly. She said, I think Bobby's her security blanket, and she's not going to give us an answer until she kind of sees what the day is going to be like and how the trip is. So I think that is true, but I think Angel has every right to do that. If she expected to, they're going to be at this house, I'm going to be at my house, and then during the activities we'll be together. I can understand that. Now, I was listening to her interview with Angel Yee. We couldn't tell from the episode, but Angel was saying it made more sense for the ladies because of the availability of the Airbnbs and rentals at the time. Made more sense for them to stay closer to the activities than to where she lived. Excuse me. So that was the end of the episode. If you are Team Replay, I appreciate you so much, Team Replay. I have to get my throat together. I'm coming down with a little something. So I'm sorry about that. But that was Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 10, Episode 14, High and Dry. I thank you so much for joining. And I will see you in the YouTube streets. Bye, everybody.